Good afternoon, all of you. We'll start again the lectures on ethics part of research and publication, research methodology course. So today and Monday I'll be taking class, and Wednesday onwards Dr. Atindra will be taking research methodology class, and I'll continue the ethics part at the end of the course. So we'll just refresh the whatever we have. We were discussing about various publication ethics during the first two classes, which include various honesty, integrity, fairness, etc., authorship, plagiarism, and what about the collaborative research and various procedures if some mistake has been happened during the publications. And in the previous class, we had discussed about ethics in research, scientific research. So there are key principles for research ethics, which include autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, and justice. And I have also told that there are various stages during a particular research. जैसा research के दौरान हमको various stages के अंदर research को divide करना पड़ता है, starting from the selection of the topic to the reporting of the final result or presentation. So, and we have told that ethical standards has to be maintained during all the stages during scientific research. So we'll continue with this. And today I'll be giving you some of the case studies in which we'll see that whether some ethical practice has been violated during the particular research studies. So today we'll be discussing the case studies, and this I have taken from this bioethics research site, and you can also go through the site, and there are many examples they have given about the various ethical problems occurred during various researches. So I have taken few of the research, and we'll try to discuss about those research and what are the ethical issues happened during that particular case. So first case study I have taken is article fails to cite historical data. The description of the case study is a colleague discovers that no one conducted experiments. इसको थोड़ा ऊपर कर सकते हैं ये Okay, so first case study is it's told that article fails to cite historical data. I told in the previous class during the research publication ethics part that whenever we are taking some reference from some other's work, we have to give the reference. And that is the ethical standard we have to maintain. And here we'll see what has happened. A colleague discovers that no one conducted experiments on a control, but rather a postdoctorate used historical data collected from previous studies as a control group. So the detailed case study they have given, a postdoctoral fellow published a paper on the chemical properties of a newly discovered compound. The properties of the compound in blood drawn from the experimental animals were substantially different from that drawn from the control group. So what they have done, they have studied the properties of a particular compound in various bloodstream in animal experiments, and they have shown that control samples and the experimental samples have having different properties that they have referred during the particular research program. The difference was statistically different. So they have you have also now completed the statistical analysis part. So whenever there is a research diverse, we have to subject our data using various statistical models. So they have also done the statistical significance study. The difference between the statistical significant, the results were indicated that there is difference between the two set of results, and this difference is statistically significant. And was his papers major finding, and this statistical different nature is that the major finding of that particular published paper. A few months later, the postdoc's mentor was given an anonymous information that proved that control experiments have been fabricated during the particular publication, and the data used for comparison was drawn from prior study. When asked by his mentor, the research student or the postdoc fellow replied that he was taught that it was appropriate to use historical data for this purpose, but did admit that he did not properly cite the source for the data in his paper. So what happened? The research fellow has been told that whenever you are doing some experiments, they can use the previous data. So he has used the control data which has been already carried out earlier. He has not carried out data. So, but he has used that data and compared with his experimental data and find that these two are very statistically completely different in nature. So, so this is definitely a ethical standard violation, because whenever he used the past or previous data, he would have given the reference. Otherwise, because this is his major finding in his publication, so definitely he has to do the experiment on his own and for comparison of the result. So they can tell that previous results are different, but whenever this is the major findings, he should have repeated the control experiments and compared the data. So this is the first case study. So here the main things are mentor-trainee relationship, that the mentor has not been discussed properly with the trainee in the beginning, maybe. So so ethical practices has been violated during that time also, and also research misconduct, because the postdoc fellow has not carried out the thing, but he has published the previous person's report. So definitely this is research misconduct, and scientific integrity has been violated this particular case study. So from this particular case study, we can tell that whenever we are doing our research, we have to definitely do the experiments which are having main implication during our discussions, and we can refer to the previous data, but that should not be the main portion of our results. So because if you are taking some previous, like some social type of studies, we have to refer various previous secondary data in many cases. So in that case, proper referencing has to be given. Otherwise, it will be a misconduct during a particular research. So this is the first case study. So we'll go to the next one. Yeah. This is case study number 2. The title is Pirated Idea for Research. The description shows that a reviewer from a research organization gives a research student a research project based on a submission he or she was reviewing. So I have, during a research publication, I have told that as the researcher may be a reviewer of various patents or journals or various scientific findings, so they have to maintain the confidentiality of that particular research, and they should not use those research for their own benefit. So here the case is exactly on that particular case. So the case is, while reviewing a patent grant proposal, a member of the research organization concluded that his or her lab would have been better equipped to perform the research and could get it done by more quickly, even though it was somewhat different from his own normal research. he or she gave the idea to one of his or her postdoc fellows the next day, and the student began work in order diligently, and nicely the student has completed the work. The research result in a paper that was submitted for publication in a highly regarded journal. One of the reviewer of the journal was the original researcher who has reached the similar findings but had been holding off publication because of a pending patent application. So here what happened, the research fellow is also a reviewer of a particular patent, and he has got the patent for reviewing, and during that reviewing he got the idea that if he can use this particular idea in his own research, then his means the lab is also in a better position to do the research work, and he or she can publish the work very quickly. So he has the person he or she has given the things to one of the student, and the student has really quickly done the work, and they have sent the publication. And incidentally, that publication has gone to the person who has actually submitted the patent. So that has been reviewed, and this whole thing has come to the place. But if this would not have been reached to the particular research fellow who has done the actual research, then this paper might have published in a highly reputed journal, and the person who has actually done the work and has sent the things for patent filing, that person would have been penalized, or that work may not have been accepted. So this is definitely an issue of intellectual property, mentor-trainee relationship, peer review, plagiarism, various publishing things are under questionable in this particular case, because we have already discussed that whenever we are reviewing any patent or research paper or any type of research findings, we have to we have to maintain the confidentiality. That is a very important ethical practice, and we should not use those ideas for our own thing. We can definitely learn from the things that, okay, this type of new work are going on, but we cannot do the replicate in our work, and we should not publish it before the actual paper has been granted. So this is definitely a violation of the ethical standards, and here the intellectual property is questionable, and there is also mentor-trainee relationship is also questionable, because the person has not clearly, the researcher has not clearly told the student that what for he has done and from where they have got the idea. They have not discussed it properly. And peer reviewing also here, the ethical standard has not been followed, because during peer review, the first point is we have to maintain the confidentiality. And here they have done the plagiarism also, because he has taken the complete idea and done the research quickly before the actual patent has been published. So this type of ethical practice we have to avoid during our research. So next case study I have given, the title shows that inconsistent finding between a trainee and a researcher. Means a research scientist is there, and he has some trainees, and they have conducted the result, and there is slightly difference in the result. So I'll just describe the things. The description tells that a graduate student felt that there is discrepancies between his or her and his mentor's finding were due to inadequate testing of the on the mentor's part. The mentor contends that the student is inexperienced in that particular issue. So details I'll tell. A graduate student has begun working in a particular new laboratory. He or she conducts the experiment testing the modification of a biological compound on its activity. So what they were doing, they are having a biological compound in which they have done some modification, and they were studying whether this modification is generating any new type of activity in that particular biological compound, or the modification is not showing any significantly or statistically significant activity in that particular biological compound. The student did all the experiments very meticulously, and the student has repeated 3 times for each variable, but discovered that there is no statistically significant effect on the activity. The student's mentor student reported these findings to the mentor or the research person that there is no significantly different activity is being observed. Then the student's mentor took over the experiment to check the student's work. The mentor conducted similar experiments, but only did one experiment, means each experiment only once. And the mentor's experiment found that modified compound did in fact inhibit the activity and present. And then when from the single data, the mentor or the research fellow got that there is little difference in the activity, and the research fellow has presented the data in a particular conference. So the graduate student suspects that the mentors falsified the data. So the student feels that their mentor should have done the experiments in triplicate analysis, like the student has repeated the things. So whenever we do the experiments, when there is a critical issues are there, we have to do the experiments in replicate manner. And that the student felt that the mentor has not done. The student brings her his concern to the university officials, and there is an investigation into the claims. So during the investigation, the mentor states that the student did not, that means the mentor has not altered any of the data. The mentor told the investigator that the student data is not should not be considered because the student the mentor has not any confidence on the student's ability, because the student is new and the student's ability is questionable to conduct the experiment properly. So the university then decided that there is no credible evidence of misconduct and dropped the investigation. But here, certain things, the case has been closed, but there are definitely certain things are really opened in this particular case study, because the student, even then the student is new, he or she has gone through the things and done the experiments really meticulously and repeated the experiment many times. Means at least 3 times each variable change the student has studied. But the mentor has done the things just once and told that there is a significant difference. So this is definitely the mentor would have replicated the things to ensure that really there is a significant difference between the two activities by the modification of the particular biological compound, whether really there is a significant change in the activity. But the person has not done such experiments, so still there is question that whether there is a data integrity is still questionable, even though the university has dropped the investigation, but still then data integrity in this particular case is questionable. There is possibility that the falsification has been done, because sometimes some researchers are in hurry to present the data to get some benefit. So there is possibility. So we cannot tell that really the researcher has done the falsification or not, but there is a question, because the person would have repeated the thing and told that yes, we have completely done the experiments in the manner it should be. So there would not be any ambiguity. And here also the mentor-trainee relationship is questionable. So there is a gap between the mentor-trainee relationship. So there is means not properly, the things are not properly discussed and before the actual publications. So these things, so in this case, there is definitely breach of ethical standards. So ethical standards are very much important in any type of research. So this type of falsification or data integrity maintenance is very much important. Another example here I have given, reporting adverse effects. So I told during the publications that if there is some negative results during a particular research, we have to clearly tell these are the research findings. So if we are partly presenting and partly hiding the results, this is definitely breach of ethical standards or ethical conduct. So in this particular case, that type of things has been happened. So the title is Reporting of Adverse Effects. The description is researchers find out that a drug he or she is promoting at a particular pharmacological conference may have serious adverse effects. The detailed case is the researcher at a prestigious university has one postdoctoral fellow who has been studying one specific aspect of a new drug that has been approved by FDA. So this particular case is about a researcher in a very prestigious university, and the researcher is having a postdoctoral fellow or a student who is working on a particular aspect of the new drug, and the drug has already been approved by FDA. The company that has developed the drug pays researcher $15,000 per year in as consulting fees. The company sponsors a conference in USA to bring together the leading researchers in that particular area. This conference is an all expense paid trip for the speakers and physicians that attend, with the speakers receiving about 5,000 as a honorarium. The researcher plans to attend and teach teach at the conference, but during the everything has been finalized. The researcher was supposed to go to the particular conference to explain about this particular drug which has been recently approved by FDA. What are the beneficial properties and things? And during this time, the research student, that postdoctoral fellow, is the researcher, the postdoctoral student got some new data, and the drug, the research that postdoctoral student has received during the new experiments that has been here. The new student has been found that the drug may have serious cardiovascular side effects. But the researchers thanks the postdoc student for the work, but only plans to report the published findings and will omit the new information about the drug's dangers. So what happened in this case? The particular drug has been approved, so everything, all the type of studies has been completed, and the fellow was getting good amount of money for that as a consulting charge, and the researcher has also been was getting some honorarium to present this new drug and about the new drug in a conference which he was supposed to attend. And during that time only, his new student was worked on a little different effect of a particular drug, has found that this drug can have definitely some side effects. And when the student has reported that that new report, this particular researcher has not included in the, because he was going for presenting the previous work about the acceptance of the new drug. So if the researcher felt that if the new side effects will be discussed, then the drug will be also questionable and the credibility will be questionable. So he has kept the new part, he has omitted the new part and presented the previous part which has already been published. So in this particular case, there is definitely conflict of interest. There is issue in mentor-trainee relationship, and there is issue in withholding data. So whenever we are doing any research, I mentioned that. So we have to maintain the clarity, and we have to report all the findings clearly. We should not hide any part of the research output. Otherwise, the whole research will be questionable. In this particular, they have done the research, and the drug has already been approved by FDA. So definitely they have done a good job, but maybe certain parts were remaining, which was not included. But the new postdoc student has done that work, and the new student has was getting that it is having a side effects. So whenever we are getting this type of and this particular, this is a drug issue, means it is going to a public domain. So the case is much more sensitive. So in that case, ethical standard is a must. So, but in that case, the researcher has omitted this certain parts of the whole research. So this is definitely breach of the ethical conduct. So this type of things we have to avoid during various research procedures. So whenever there is a conflict of interest like this, the researcher thought that if the new findings or the side effects will be discussed, then there will be questioned during his credibility of having the FDA approved drug. So he was getting a lot of money also. So there is a conflict of interest. So this even if there is a conflict of interest, he has to declare it. So he would have withdrawn that particular thing and he would have not gone for the presentation during the particular conference. So here conflict of interest is a main issue, and also mentor-trainee relationship, that whenever the researcher got the information from the postdoc fellow, he has not included in his presentation. So there is the mentor-trainee relationship is also a questionable thing. Here the ethics is not properly maintained, and withholding of data is very much means a wrong thing in when we considered about the ethical practice. So whenever we carry out particular research, we have to publish all the good proper points as well as the negative points. Because in the beginning of the class, I mentioned that we do research and the research findings people use for their own research. So if you will not mention, because this particular the negative results which will not published during our research, then another person may come and fully work on the this particular part of the work, and there will be repetition of work. So withholding of data is definitely should be avoided in any type of research. So this is about the case study number 4. We'll go to the next case study. So this case study is dispute over primary authorship. So this is regarding the publication ethics. I told that during publications, the persons who have worked, they should be given the prime importance, and the responsibility and the credibility should be shared between all the research personnel. And the person who has not worked should not be given the undue advantage or undue inclusion in the particular author list. And similarly, if a person has worked rigorously, he or she should not be removed from the author list. And similarly, primary authorship is also sometimes very much important. And this particular case study is about dispute over primary authorship. So the description of this particular case study is: 3 researchers put forth an equal amount of effort on a research project, resulting in a dispute over who the primary author should be. So 3 researchers has carried out a collaborative type of work, and they all have put the equal amount of effort for finding the output of the particular research. So the detailed case is: 3 doctoral students, AA, BB, I've just given AA, BB, CC, 3 students. They have worked together on a research project focused on exploring psychological strategies to help people adhere to a vegan diet. So vegan diet, whether it is having some psychological strategies. So on this particular project, all the 3 students worked together. All the 3 students played an equal role in moving the project forward, including providing assistance in study design, data collection, data analysis, and manuscript writing. So in the last class, I mentioned that there are various stages of the particular research program. And in this particular case, all the students have been equally competent, and they have equally played the role in every stage of the particular research program, from the study designing to data collection up to the manuscript writing. So after the manuscript was written, one of the student, BB, I have mentioned, submitted the paper for review with his or her name as the leading author. So he has put his own name or her own name as the leading author of the particular research output and sent for publication. And the journal invited the authors to revise the manuscript. And during when the first submission, the second student has not taken any agreement of the other students, and he has put only his or her own name as the leading author. So he has not given the due credit to the other authors. But the author, during the reviewing of the manuscript, it was subjected to revision, and during revision, the other students came to know that only the second student has been used his own name as the leading author. The journal invited the authors to revise the manuscript. Then when AA or the first student realized that he or she did not appear as the leading author of the manuscript, this made AA very furious, and he or she responded immediately by contacting the journal to initiate an authorship dispute. So the first student has written to the journal that we all have contributed equally, but this second person has been given the only name as the leading author. So there is a dispute. It has to be first resolved. So the journal has taken action on this particular issue. So here things are, the authorship is questionable and there is a conflict. So during we were discussing about the publication ethics, we have discussed that whenever people have contributed equally, so equal respect or due has to be given, and it has to be mentioned. Sometimes we give two persons as the first author also. So because if two persons has really worked together and contributed equally, the both are having the right to be the first author in that particular publication. So without telling others, sending the work for publication is a breach of the ethical conduct. So, but nowadays, these journals are also taking care during the beginning of the submission that we have to make an agreement in which we have to tell that we have taken the consent of all the authors before sending the research work for publication. And also, we give the email addresses of all the authors during submission to any journal. And whenever we submit any particular work for publication, during that time, all the authors are informed by the journals. So everybody is aware that this type of work has been sent for publication. So during that time, if there is some conflict of interest, then the authors can raise the question. Otherwise, then they can raise the dispute issue also. So this type of dispute issue should not be happen during any type of research publication. So जब भी हम कोई जर्नल में कोई भी अपना काम हम भेजते हैं, तो हमको ये केयर लेना जरूरी है कि जो भी प्रॉपरली काम किए हैं या पर्टिकुलर रिसर्च में इन्वॉल्व हैं, हम उन सबको ड्यू क्रेडिट देना चाहिए. और कोई अगर प्रॉपरली काम में इन्वॉल्व नहीं है, just for name sake, we should not include their names. And also the authors who have worked significantly and equally, we have to give their names as the leading author in the particular research work. So this is about case study 5. So we'll go to the next case study. So this particular case study title is Technician Error Leads to Harm of Animal Subjects. Excuse me. The description shows that the lab technician fails to properly secure animal enclosures, resulting in a gory fight between two primates. So, in the previous class, I mentioned that whenever we conduct experiments on animals or humans, we have to be much more sensitive and much more careful, because in that case, the ethical issues will be much more, and we have to very much empathetic towards everything. And whenever we are using animals for our experiments, we have to be equally careful. Otherwise, nowadays, the animal rights group also can raise various issues. In this particular issue, such things has been happened. So what happened? The case states that an animal rights group submitted a formal complaint against an reputed research institute after obtaining documents detailing a gory fight between two primates in a particular lab. After the fight was broken up, the primates were quickly sedated and then separated by the on-duty lab technician. Veterinarians were contacted to treat the primate's wounds. One primate had a significant portion of the middle and pinky finger missing, resulting in an amputation of these fingers. According to the documents, the on-duty lab technician was new to the lab and had not properly secured the enclosures of the primates. The animal rights group claimed that this incident is a violation of Animal Welfare Act. So whenever we are using animals for our particular research studies, we should be aware of what is the Animal Welfare Act or Animal Ethics Committee's rules or guidelines. So we have to follow them very strictly. So in this particular case, what happened? So the different animals were used for the experiments, and during that period, the lab technician was new, and he has left the primates together, means the animals together, and there is a huge fight between the animals, and there are some wounds, and the few fingers has to be amputated for few animals. So when the animal rights group came to know about this particular incident, they have raised the questions that there is a ethical issue, and the Animal Welfare Act tells that we have to be sensitive towards the animal, and we have to take proper care even during our study. So this has not been taken care. So they have raised the complaint against the reputed research institute. So when there is this type of animal rights group is raising a complaint against the research institute, this becomes a sensational case for news channels. So whenever we are doing our experiments and we are involving animals, so we have to be extra careful and we have to be empathetic towards the animals. So we have to understand that what are the Animal Welfare Act, and also we have to understand that whatever the ethical guidelines tells about the use of animals for our experiments. Like the previous class, I have told that whenever we are using animals for various important studies, so we have to minimize the number of animals used for that particular studies. And we have to also tell that this much of animals are essential for particular study, and we expect much more beneficial property compared to the harm which we are creating to the particular animals. Like in cancer studies, we use various mice. So in that case, minimum amount of mice we have to use for our study. And we have to tell that we have conducted all the preliminary studies before the actual experiments for going for the animals study. So all this data has to be there before the actual study. But in this particular study, the technician was little new, and he was not knowing this type of guidelines. So the animal rights could raise the complaint against the research institute. So this is about the case study number 6. So now we'll go to the next case study. So this case study is about researcher services. So the description says that parents are told that if they enroll their babies in a research project, the babies will receive an EEG, that is the diagnostic tool, to look for signs of brain damage. Babies not enrolled for the research will not receive the diagnostic test. So the case I'll mention, then we'll discuss once again. The case is babies who had febrile convulsions were recruited into a research project by the staff of a health maintenance organization. The parents were told that the babies would be given an EEG, that is a diagnostic procedure, to assure that brain damage has not occurred. When a parent declined permission for the baby to be included in the research, but requested that the EEG test should be performed, the parent was told that this should not be possible unless the baby was enrolled for the study. So here, definitely there are violation of ethical conduct, because in the previous class we have discussed that whenever we are using any human or animals for, humans for our research studies, we have to take the consents. We have to take the consent of the particular research subjects. Here the babies are the research subjects, so we have to take the consent of their parents. But here, the parents have been forced to enroll those babies for the particular research project, because otherwise they will not be given the particular test. So here, whether there is a question that whether it is a research or it is a service. So whenever tests are being carried out, it should be given freely. So whoever is interested, that students only should be included in the particular research. But here the organization has forced all the parents to include their babies for the particular research. So otherwise they told that they will not include the babies for the particular test, which is essential for this type of treatment. So the parents will be really forced to include their baby for their studies. So this type of forcing should not happen during any type of research, because we have discussed that we should not force any person to be included. We can convince them to be a part of a research. We can tell that this type of research will be beneficial. What is the motto of the research? What is the procedure we want to conduct? And we expect that there will be a definitely beneficial property compared to there will be minimum adverse effect we expect during the particular work. And still then, if somebody is not interested to be a participant in that particular research, we have to respect their views, and we have to take others for our research purpose. But in this case, the organization has really forced all the parents of the babies to be part of the research, so that they can conduct the research. So this type of misconduct should not happen during research. So when we apply a particular ethical standards, so whenever we are doing the research, so undue influence should not be forced, and also the research participants should voluntarily participate during a particular research. And in the previous class, we have discussed that. So there is a clear acceptance that the subjects during the research can participate on their own, and in between the research also they have the privilege to not to be part of the research. So if they are not comfortable in any time, they can leave the research project. So we should not force any participants to be included all the time during the research. So this is about the case study number 7. Another case study I'll discuss. So here the case study number 8. The title is Subjects at High Risk for AIDS Used in AIDS Research. So description is, AIDS vaccine research includes subjects who are deemed high risk but have not contracted HIV/AIDS in randomized placebo-controlled study. I'll just discuss, then we'll discuss that where the ethical standard has been breached during the particular case study. The case tells that a pharmaceutical company has developed a promising vaccine for HIV. After initial safety testing, a large international trial is initiated. The researchers recruit subjects who do not have HIV/AIDS but at high risk for the disease. They have chosen mostly the sex workers which are having high risk for the particular disease. The trial is randomized, placebo-controlled trial in which 2/3 of the research subjects will receive the vaccine and 1/3 will receive the injection of saline, that is the placebo. So what happened during the particular research? Our pharmaceutical company has developed a promising vaccine for a particular disease. So they were working for HIV/AIDS. So they have chosen the subjects who are having high risk for HIV/AIDS, like various sex workers they have selected for the studies. So and then they were doing the placebo control study in which 2/3 of the vaccine will be given to the particular subjects and 1/3 injection, that is only the saline, will be given as a placebo to the rest of the participants. But here the thing is that they have not chosen the subjects randomly. So they have only selected the participants who are having high risk for the particular disease. So here the keywords are fair subject selection is questionable, human trials are involved. So whether they have taken their permission or they have not taken the permission, that is also questionable. So where here they have only including a part of the population. So they have not selected the subjects on a randomized basis. So they would have including all types of candidates for that particular research, but they have focused only a particular type of population who are having high risk of for the particular disease. So there is a bias in selecting the participants for a particular research study. So in the previous class, we have discussed that during any research, when we are using various subjects, it has to be randomized and it has to be selected in a fair manner. So there should not be any bias during the particular selection of the participants. But here they have only focused on a particular group of people who may be having by using this particular population, they thought that their research output may be more easily they can find out the results. So they were not very fair during selection of the participants. So there is definitely a breach of ethical conduct during the selection of the participants. And so also they have not mentioned that whether they have taken the consent of that particular population for their studies. So whenever there is a human trial, so we have to take the consents. So these are ethical breach definitely happened during this type of particular research. So these are the different type of case studies which I wanted to discuss today. So there are many type of case studies also we can get in various in our surrounding, and also in if you go through various internet. In this particular website where I have taken, there are many case studies they have given. I have only taken 8 case studies which I feel that this is we can discuss in the today class, because in the previous 3 classes we had discussed about the various research publication ethics, means during the particular research what are the ethical standards we have to maintain, and during publications what are the ethical standards one should maintain. And these 8 case studies, I find that these are more suitable for this thing. And also you can go through the various case studies which are available in various internet sources. So this much today I wanted to discuss. So we'll continue this in the next class. Thank you. कितने लोग हैं?